anger. It's that one emotion that all of us experience that we think can supersede anything. It's just so powerful. It can grab us. It can almost strangle us. Dr. Nick joins us this morning with news on the fact that no, it's not the strongest, biggest emotion. In fact, it's a secondary emotion. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning. I'm strangling myself with my anger.
It can almost feel like that, right? But yeah,
and we're not here to make people angry.
No, not at all. In fact, yeah, better dealing with and all that. But I'm intrigued to know why you say it's a secondary emotion when it feels so primary.
Well, I'm kind of laughing a little bit because I was thinking earlier that one of the forces behind anger is a certain kind of self-righteousness that I've got the way, that this is the path to follow. We get angry when people don't follow the way we think. And so I'm wanting to retract that and say, well, maybe it's not always secondary, but I think mainly it's secondary.
Okay.
And I think the primary emotion that most researchers and people in the mental health world would say is that it's fear. Oh. It's fear. If a car jumps out in front of me on the freeway and I get into what we call the rage or anger, is it really anger first, or is it the fear that I'm going to get hit?
It's the fear.
To me, it seems pretty logical that the fear comes up and then I get angry because remember, they're connected in that they're primal. We're human beings who are hardwired for survival.
Right. We do that with our children when they run out into a busy street. You know, you freak out with your kid.
Perfect example.
You're afraid they're going to get run over.
Yes, and so that's why it's good to distinguish so that we can let the child know, I just fear for you. And I would think you were fearful.
Sure.
So it kind of helps to alleviate maybe some of the anger that might come up that, okay, it's my fear controlling me. But I just think that's important to understand that underlies it.
Sure. And it can probably help us maybe calm down quicker if we just go, I'm just scared.
Yes, and all is well. I'm still alive. I didn't get hit. It's the threat.
Yes.
It's back to that threat. But there are other things that can fuel anger.
Okay.
You know, I mentioned self-righteousness.
Right.
I think it can.
Sure. But what about your voice? Like, don't people get angry when they don't feel like that they're heard or they've been unjustly accused of something?
That is probably the most positive side to anger, believe it or not. Yeah. Well, I think we call it indignation. When we feel unjustly treated or unfairly treated or not heard or not having a chance to make our case and feel judged. Yeah, I think that promotes anger.
And until
and
we
I think
write
that's a positive anger.
And yeah, I was going to say, until we right that wrong in our eyes, where does the anger go? How do we deal with that?
Well, you probably are the better one to answer that because as we've talked before off camera as friends, you're not one to get very angry. Right. But when you do, it's difficult.
It's a powder keg. It's that explosive
But
kind.
isn't it also difficult in that you're not comfortable with it? See, I think if we were honest, we'd say, no one really likes to be angry.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, it's a horrible feeling.
It's disquieting, discomforting?
It unsettles everything inside of me, and that's where I mean that explosive thing. And I don't mean that I always necessarily lash out and scream at people. It's that there's this internal inferno that you just, you can't extinguish. Because sometimes, and tell me if I'm normal, you will just brood over that.
Yes.
You will relive it, and you'll think, what could I have said?
Yes.
And it won't go away.
Yes. And that brings in, and I'm not sure that I have the answer for that, but I do believe the repetition of the story keeps feeding the anger. So again, part of our responsibility as higher selves is really to say, okay, I've brooded enough.
Okay.
Really?
Time limit.
or I'm still brooding over this 2 or 3 days later. I'm going to do something about it, or I'm going to let it go. Because I think sometimes the kind of anger you talk about, the injustice or not being heard, the way to resolve it is to speak.
Right.
And say, I need to say this. I need to defend myself and make my case. Now, once that's done, the results are in God's hands.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
I made my case. I'm done.
Sure. They may or may
you
not
may
agree
or may
with
not
me,
agree with me.
But that's it.
That's it. That's
Okay.
it. And then it's done. I've been in situations like that before.
And time is good for that. And you
Time
have a
is
great
good for
thing
that.
about time in the 24-hour rule.
Yeah, just put it off till tomorrow.
Right,
Or
right.
give it 24 hours to see. Yes,
think
I
better,
think
think clearly.
I think the indignation and the injustice comes. But I also think, Whitney, there are some other issues that go along with anger real quick. The inability to feel the power, a kind of a powerlessness. When we're powerless over something, we tend to want to get angry and where's my power? Why can't I control it? And I think there's where the serenity prayer comes in. I don't really have any power over it.
I think
It's
a lot of
about
people feel that at
you.
work.
It's not me.
Don't you?
I do.
We're not going to do it this way, even though you might think it's the better way, or you there and you have a new boss, and there's just, or well, we're going to have to go in this direction, and you just know in your heart it's not the right direction, which then calls, hopefully not just about internal anger. It will either make you say, okay, well, we need to have a meeting, right, and
Yes.
talk about this, or I need to look for a new job.
Yes, yes, and I would even add to that we would want to sit back and say, what's all that anger about? And am I here to do my job or hers or theirs? And I know that there's teamwork and all that.
Sure.
But I still think we need to do our part to create an energetic environment that is positive and productive and fruitful. And that again influences the other people.
Mm-hmm. How do you know when anger is such a problem that you need help outside of yourself?
When it becomes dysfunctional, when it becomes overwhelming, when there are no other emotions that seem to come up. It is not the only emotion. Where is the joy? Where is the hope? Where is the gratitude? Where is the spontaneous laughter? Where is living in the moment? Right? That life becomes again almost stuck. See, I would say that when you're in the mud. That's when you're in the mud. And we got to come out of the mud, and the only way to come out of the mud is to again re-image what life is. If I'm always angry, something is brewing underneath that's causing that.
Yeah.
And it could be old or it could be current. I tend to think that it's probably old.
Yeah.
That just keeps recurring.
But don't you
in
know
another
some
way.
of these people, it's not my neighbor, but I have a friend who has a neighbor, and I'm telling you, there's this grumpy man all the time.
Yes.
And he's older, not that has anything to do with it, but it just tells me how long that must be festering inside of him, and it makes me kind of sad.
It brings me to another reason that we need to tap into anger and understand it better. What is one of the greatest promoters of anger? Grief and loss.
Oh.
It is a stage of grief. I'm angry. I'm not able to work anymore. My neighbors don't look like me. I haven't seen my children in 2 years. My wife has been dead for 2 years, and tomorrow's her anniversary. Do you hear the grief that's underlying all that anger and all that kind of grumpiness? And if somehow we could help people understand that there is loss and there is grief and it's okay.
But it can't
I know
override
it sounds
everything.
I'm sorry?
But it can't override everything. It can't
Right.
be your whole persona.
Right. But that's what happens when we get so stuck in who am I without that.
Yeah, but you know what makes me sad, especially for older people sometimes, who didn't grow up maybe in younger generations where therapy was more accepted. It was more of a growth and a retooling and improve your life kind of thing. It was a sign of weakness and you couldn't handle your own emotions. Is they won't seek help.
They won't seek help. And you know, one of the ways we seek help, may I tell you a quick story?
Of course.
It's about your mother.
My mother?
It's about your mother.
Oh, okay.
I spoke to your mother the other day.
Okay.
And I was telling her that I was so excited about getting away for a few days and going to the beach.
Yes.
And you know what your mother told me?
We're all going to be at the beach.
You know
at
what
the
you
same
told
time.
me?
What?
She told me? She said, now, how are you going to handle that? I said, well, I'm going to just say I'm off the clock and maybe check the phone once a day. She said, I got a better idea. She said, why don't you let everybody know you're going to be dead for the week? And I was like, what? And she said, yeah, just be dead for the week. She said, life is so short. Life is so short. Go ahead and start feeling what it's like to be dead, to be unproductive, to not be achieving, to not be on top of the world. Just have a dead identity for a week. Whitney, I wanted to send her $160 and say thank you for the session. And I'm not here to toot your mother's horn, but is that not a great attitude
That is,
towards life. Just
Uh-huh.
be dead for the week.
She's never told me that because it's going to be a
Whitney.
real struggle for me to get away for a couple of days.
I know,
There's so
but you
many things to
gotta
do.
love it though.
I do love
and you
it, you're
gotta
right.
appreciate it. So my point is, be around people who get this.
Gotcha.
Huh?
That's right.
Who get this so that we can handle the grumpy and the angry.
Sure. And if
We
you don't
really
have those
do
people,
need to
find them.
choose people that are going to give us sobriety.
Yeah.
It was sobering. I didn't get angry when she said be dead for a week. I said, I just need to lie on the beach like I'm in a coffin. So really, just lie there and pretend you're dead. I think it's going to be wonderful.
I think it is too.
I'm not crazy. This is a great idea. Allow yourselves, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great. I'm thinking.
I know
thinking,
you're
how can I do
thinking.
that?
The words of your mother. You didn't think that was coming.
I know she has a lot of wisdom.
Oh, does she?
She does. She does, and I'm glad other people glean it.
Does
you know.
she?
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
Does she? Yeah. Well, anyway.
Anyway, so I'll see you at the beach.
We're not angry.
There will be no anger at the beach. let me
No
tell you.
anger at the beach. Just calm serenity, a relaxed body.
That's right. But thank you for the tools to help us when we see it and feel it to deal more productively with it.
You're very welcome, Whitney. Happy weekend, everyone.
That's right. Much more Weekends with Whitney right after this.